bring you out with me this morning. I'm going to be peeling apples and coring them, and I trying to decide if I was going to make apple pie filling or if I was going to just make apple butter, but I still got a bunch of jars of apple pie filling left from last year, so I just decided to go ahead and do apple butter this year. And I figured I'd just bring you guys out and we could sit and have a talk while I did my peeling and coring and all of that. Got me a nice clean little bag in here because all this is going to go into the compost pile. I'll have to stop every few minutes and restart the camera because this camera doesn't take very long footage. But I didn't want to use the other camera because it doesn't have that good a sound on it that I know of. I mean, it might have, but it's not high definition, so it would be a smaller picture. And I know it would last longer, but I just figured this would be the easier way to do it. Anyway, you guys know that I haven't been feeling too well. Well, let me tell you a little story that happened Saturday night. I haven't been sleeping at all very much during the week, so I've been really tired. Well, Saturday I started feeling a little bit better, and so I went to bed. Oh, I'm gonna guess it was between 12 and 1 a.m. Sunday morning when I went to bed, and I got up about 5 a.m. that morning, Sunday morning, and I came out to have some coffee, and I found a jar of bread and butter pickles sitting right in front of my door, and the jar was just covered in grass. And I thought, well, maybe they dropped it coming down the driveway or something. Well, I didn't pay that much attention to it. And I had noticed, you know how the night air makes it look like there's almost like a frost on the grass of a morning. Well, I saw that there was footprints leading from the driveway down here. So I thought, well, what the heck would somebody be doing at 5 o'clock in the morning or earlier? Because this had to happen between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. Well, I could see their footprints coming down the driveway to the front deck, and I thought, why would anybody be out at that time? Well, I just took the pickles in the house and set them on the counter, and I didn't pay that much more attention to it. And about an hour later, a cousin of mine had stopped by to bring me a couple of Asian dolls, statues I guess I should say, that she had gotten me for my bedroom, because everybody knows I'm redoing my bedroom Asian style. Well, when she got ready to leave, we went out to the garden and picked tomatoes and all kinds of stuff. Well, when she got ready to leave, she said, well, I'm going to get out of here. She said, I got to get home and make lunch for the kids and all that, blah, blah, blah. Well, I noticed 15 minutes later, I looked out the window and her truck was still sitting out there, and I thought, what is she doing? And pretty soon, her granddaughter knocked on my door, and she said, Grandma, why don't you come look at this? And I thought, well, what's going on now? So I walk out there, but I don't go up there where they're at in the top part of my yard. And she said, something happened here. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, there is glass and car parts all over your side yard up here. And I went up there and looked, and you could see where, the way my driveway is, I don't have anything dropped. The main highway runs like this. It's a curve, comes down like this. Well, my driveway's right here, and it's a real wide driveway. And on each side of the driveway, there's a foot concrete wall that curves around the driveway, and that's to divert water and stuff. Well, there's like a 300-400 pound stone up there, and we had set it on top of that concrete wall at the end so I could mow when I got ready to mow up there. And sometime between 1 and 5 a.m. when I got up, well, it had to be way earlier than that, somebody had come around that corner, and instead of turning to go around the corner, they went right through my driveway, hit that concrete wall, hit that big old rock, flipped their car, and it landed right in my side yard, and just stuff went everywhere. Well, the police were called, the tow truck came, tore up my yard. They flipped the car over. Well, when they flipped the car over, the windshield just went everywhere, and they had cleaned up and gone. I walked up there, there was, in my side yard, the whole windshield was just laying everywhere in my side yard. We got a 5-gallon bucket of car parts that we walked through there and picked up, and then later I went through and picked up all the glass, and I got about a 5-gallon bucket of glass. And I couldn't mow up there for a couple of days because I was scared I was going to ruin my tractor tires with all that glass up there. But sometime between that 1 and 4 or 5 a.m., they had wrecked, the cops, everything. Tow truck was out there. I was so tired, I never heard one thing all that time. All that happening. Not even 20 feet, it's probably about 10 feet where the car flipped over, away from my house, and I never heard a word. I slept through every bit of it. Now tell me that ain't wild. But I wanted to read to you guys while I was out here, and they got wet, so I guess I better do it now. This is a letter I found, and I just thought it was hilarious. And I've got a couple of more things to read to you guys if they're still good enough to read. Then I'll finish my apples. It says, a hillbilly's mom's letter. And she's writing this to her son. It says, "Dear son, I'm writing this letter so slow because I know you can't read fast. We don't live where we did when you left. Your dad had read in the paper that most accidents happen within 20 miles of a home, so we moved. Won't be able to send you the address as the last family that lived there took the numbers with them for their new house so that they wouldn't have to change their address. This place has a wash machine. The first day I put 4 shirts in it and I pulled the chain and haven't seen them since. It rained twice this week, 3 days the first time and 4 days the second time. The coat you wanted me to send you, Aunt Sue said it would be a little too heavy to send in the mail, which with them heavy buttons, so we cut them off and stuffed them in the pockets. We got a bill from the funeral home, and it said if we didn't make the final payment on Grandma's funeral bill, up she comes. About your sister, she had a baby this morning. I haven't found out whether it's a boy or a girl, so don't know if you're an aunt or an uncle. Your Uncle John fell in a whiskey vat. Some men tried to get him out, but he fought them off playfully, so he drowned. We cremated him and he burned for over a week. 3 of your friends went off the bridge in a pickup. The one that was driving and the other 2 were in the back. The driver got out by rolling down the window and swam to safety. The other 2 drowned because they couldn't get the tailgate down. Not much more news this time. Nothing much happened. If you don't get this letter, please let me know and I'll send another one. Love, Mom. P.S. I was going to send you some spending money, but I had already sent the envelope and mailed it." I just thought that was so funny. Guess I better get back to peeling and doing this. You know, they were going on about school on the internet and the news earlier. I was watching that, and it reminded me of whenever in the 1970s, whenever we'd get ready to go back to school after summer break. There were 7 of us in our family, and I'll tell you what, in the 70s, it was kind of hard to get school clothes, new school clothes for that many kids, you know, all at once. So there was this place where we lived that they opened up once a year, and that was at the beginning of school, and families could come in that couldn't afford new school clothes. Families could come in and buy and get, not buy, they gave them to you. You could get 2 new sets of clothes for your kids for school, and it was usually 2 pair of pants, 2 shirts, socks, underwear, and then you were allowed to get 1 pair of shoes for the school year. And I remember every time my mom took us there in the 70s, I would always look for the platform shoes. I loved the platform shoes back in the day. My mom and dad would get so mad at me, but I still got them. And if I couldn't find bell-bottom pants, I would just get regular pants, and then I'd take them to my grandmother, and my grandmother would cut the sides out of them at the bottom, and she would add fabric to them to make bell-bottoms. And I'll tell you what, the bigger she could get them, the better. Because you always wanted to outdo all the other kids at school when it came to your bell-bottoms. And the bigger you could make them, the good. And she knew that. And I'll tell you what, I had some bell-bottoms that you couldn't walk in them because they would just flump in the wind and trip you. But I was so proud of those pants that Grandma did for me. And in the 70s, my mom and dad used to, I was old enough to go get a haircut on my own. They didn't have to go with me. So they'd give me the money, and my mom would tell me, she said, now I want you to go get a haircut, but she said, I want you to get a regular man's haircut. She said, don't get any of this hippie crap that you did the last time. Well, what I'd do is I'd go up there and I'd have the barber, which was Tony Townsend, I'd have him to cut it the way I wanted it, and then I'd have him to style it to make it look like just a regular boy's haircut. And so my mom and dad was happy with that. Well, what would happen is when I'd get ready to go to school, I'd comb my hair to make it look like just a regular boy's haircut. Then when I got to school, I'd go in the bathroom and style it into the way I wanted to. And so I would be keeping up with the other kids and the hairstyle. Well, everything worked out fine until school pictures came out and I got caught. Never did that again either. My mom and dad whipped me to death. Well, I can't say whipped me to death, I guess, because I'm here today, huh? But I got my butt whipped for it. But then they got to where, until I was 18 years old, they went with me to get my hair cut. I hope you guys are okay with me just sitting around blabbing while I'm doing this. But, oh, let me read this letter. Not really a letter, but it's kind of it's just something funny. Because, you know, I'm a hillbilly. I'm the original Ozark hillbilly, and I found some of this and wanted you guys to listen. It says, from the country, where drunk driving is considered a sport, comes this absolutely true story. Recently, a routine police patrol parked outside of a bar in Paris, Tennessee. After last call, the officer noticed a man leaving the bar so intoxicated that he could barely walk. The man stumbled around the parking lot for a few minutes with the officer quietly observing. What seemed an eternity, in which he tried his keys in 5 different vehicles, the man managed to find his truck and trailer and fell into it. He sat there for a few minutes as a number of the other patrons left the bar and drove off. Finally, he got into the car and started the engine, switched wipers on and off. It was all fine, dry summer night. He flickered the lights, blinked off and on a couple of times. He honked the horn and then switched on the lights. He moved the vehicle forward a few inches, then reversed a little and maintained still for a few more minutes. as some more of the other Patreons left. The other Patreons' vehicles left. At last, when he was the only car left in the parking lot, he pulled out and drove slowly down the road. Well, the police officer, having waited patiently for all this time, now started up his patrol car and put on the flashing lights promptly and pulled the man over. He pulled the man over and administered a breathalyzer test. To his amazement, the breathalyzer test indicated no evidence that the man had consumed any alcohol at all. Dumbfounded, the officer said, "I'll have to ask you to accompany me to the police station. This breathalyzer equipment must be broken." And the guy looked at him and said, "I seriously doubt it." The hillbilly said proudly, "Tonight, I'm the designated decoy." In other words, he was acting like he was drunk where all the real drunks could get away, and then he would be the last one there. They couldn't do anything because he wasn't drunk. One day a hillbilly walks into a police station because he wants to job as a deputy, which he waited his whole life. So he goes over to the sheriff's desk and says to the sheriff, "I'm here to be a deputy." The sheriff laughed and said, "Well, let's see if you're qualified, son." The sheriff asked him the question, and the hillbilly gives him an answer. The sheriff says, "Close enough." The sheriff then asks him, "What are 2 days of the week that begin with T?" And the hillbilly said, "Today and tomorrow," says the hillbilly, "but not what I was looking for, but I'll give it to you," says the sheriff. "Who shot Abraham Lincoln?" the sheriff asked. The hillbilly just stands there with a blank look on his face, and the sheriff says, "Why don't you go home, think about it, and come back tomorrow and let me know." So the hillbilly goes home, and it says, his wife says to him, "So, Sweet Pea, did you get the job?" And the guy said, "I think so. They've already put me on a murder case." All right, a new one. A hillbilly farmer from back in the hills walked 12 miles one way to the general store. "Hey, you Wilbur," said Ron, the store owner. "Tell me, are you and Myrtle still making fires up there by rubbing stones and flint together?" "You betcha, Ron. Ain't no other way of doing it. I got something to show you. Something that makes fire. It's called a match." "A match? Never heard of it. Watch this. If you want fire, you just do this," Ron says, taking out a match and striking it on his trousers. Well, that's something, but that ain't for me, Ron." "Why not?" "I can't be walking 12 miles every time I want to make a fire to borrow your trousers." I threw on the biggest, loosest shirt I could find so I'd stay cool, because there is a little bit of a breeze today. Not much, but then we have surges of wind blowing pretty high. So, how's everybody doing today? I have to admit that I'm feeling a lot better. And oh yeah, and to that person that keeps going through my videos and giving me a thumbs down, I noticed that they mostly give me thumb down on videos where I'm talking about me being sick or what's wrong with me, but that's okay. You know, you just have those hateful people out there, and I think I figured out who it was. Well, I called them out, and it wasn't even 2 minutes after that I noticed that I had lost a subscriber. So I kind of figured the person that I called out figured out that I knew who it was, and they unsubscribed to me. So I don't think that's going to stop them, but it's all right. They just don't understand that even giving you a thumbs down, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't hurt your channel at all. The only thing it does is actually helps, because it proves that they watched your channel. It's a view. I mean, YouTube looks at it like this. It's none of their business whether you like that video or not. And if you give it a thumbs down, YouTube still considers it as a view. So it goes to your credit. And I just thought it was funny. But I used to worry about, I used to get so upset about losing subscribers just coming and going, because I always tried to figure out what did I always tried to figure out what did I do or what did I say, you know. And then I realized that no matter what you do, what you say, doesn't matter what your video's about, if somebody gets tired of watching you and they're going to unsubscribe to you, ain't nothing you can do about it. And they don't owe you an explanation of why. So I finally learned to just give up on that and quit worrying about that. Because it is what it is, right? Man, I'll tell you what, I am so glad that our harsh, hot weather is over. Yeah, and did I tell you guys that we had a few days of really cool weather? I mean, it was cloudy, no sun at all, about 4 days. It just stayed cloudy and not really rain. It rained a couple of times, just not the whole time it was cloudy. But anyway, during that cool down, remember I've been complaining that my green bean plants, they grew strong and green and about 14 feet long, but no flowers, no nothing on them. So I finally figured out that it was the heat that was doing it, because during those 4 days that we had that cool weather, I bet there was 1,000 and some blooms popped out on that those bean plants. And then yesterday I noticed there were some little bitty green beans growing around the bottom. I'm kind of hoping after this election things start settling down. America, I have just never seen America in the turmoil that it's in right now. It's sad. I grew up believing that anybody could become president, no matter, you know what. You just have, the only qualifications, you had to be a certain age and you had to be a U.S. citizen. It never ever said you had to be a politician, nothing like that. And when Donald Trump won, the Democratic Party just went crazy because he wasn't a politician, he was an everyday person. And I didn't see anything wrong with it because, you know, I grew up believing anybody could become president. All you had to do is be the right age and American citizen. Nowhere does it say that you had to be a politician in the first place to even become president. Trump not being a politician, I think, has actually helped this country. He has put us so far ahead of everything, even though they have tried to bring him down at every turn. I mean, if this man farts, they try to find some way to follow the fart to see where it's going so they could complain about it. I don't really care who's running the country as long as they're doing something to help the American people. And I just, you know, and I'm not trying to make anybody mad, and I'm really not trying to get political, but I just don't see Democrats helping us. They're too much into, I want what I want. If I don't get what I want, you won't get what you need. And I don't believe in that, because that makes me feel like they're holding all Americans hostage until they get what they want. And, you know, if they don't get what they want, then they're not going to help us. And then Trump's executive order about the unemployment, that was to help people, not to, he wasn't trying to outdo the Democrats or anything like that. He got tired of waiting on all of them, and he did something himself to help the American people. And even the people he was trying to help, some of them were just complaining and bitching and griping, and it's sad. By the summer that we had this year, it's going to be a cold, rough winter. I can already tell that we're going to have a really rough winter this year. Usually when we have that hot of a, if we have a mild summer, we usually have a pretty mild winter. But when we have a really hot summer, then we have some really bad winters, and we're pretty much due for a one of our winters where we get 3 feet of snow and 2 and 3 inches of ice for weeks at a time, and temperatures dropping 7 below zero, and I dread those too. Even though they only happen every few years, I still dread them. But I can pretty much always tell. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to sit down, chat with you a little bit, just something to do. Because I didn't have time to work on my my little tree today. And I hope you guys are watching those because I want you guys to figure out what it is. But anyway, I just figured today, since I had to get this done, that I'd just sit down and have a talk with you while I worked on this. Bring out my cucumber water and just have a chat with you guys. So I'm going to get this finished so I can get my apple butter made. And I'll talk to you guys later. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. Every like helps and every sub helps me. See you later, guys.